All right, we're going to talk a little bit about prepping the bird before we throw it into the oven, the brining process. Back with Jeff Hadley from Wake Tech's Culinary School, just an awesome school. All right, brining is an important part because it really changed the whole flavor profile.
It will, and it's a newer trend for home cooks, professional cooks. We've been doing it for ages, but it seems to have kind of permeated into the private sector, if you will. So I want to show you how to do this, some of the ratios of water and salt and so on. You know, brine is nothing more than a salted liquid. And so what we're going to be doing is soaking this turkey in that brine to infuse the flavor. And
before we get started, I know our photographer Kenneth Roundtree and myself, we were talking, we can put different things in here. It's not necessarily a set formula.
No.
If you're creative, you can get your own flavors.
Right. The base is water, salt, sugar. You can put anything else in it after that you want.
All right, Jeff, I'll let you rock and roll.
Okay. So I've got the bird out. I've rinsed this inside and out. Even though it's going to go back into liquid, it's still a good thing to rinse that out. You just never know what's been hanging around. And then patted it dry with towels, paper towels. You don't want to use a dish towel or anything like that, something that's throwaway. Once again, you don't know what's on the towel, any kind of a cloth towel or anything like that. So I just like to pat it down with the paper towels, get rid of those, and we're ready to go here. One of the things, if you're going to roast it, this is something else you should think about doing, and that's tucking these bad boys in. So instead of leaving them sitting out here, you know, if you cook it like this, all this wing meat's going to dry out. So what we do is a process we call tucking. We're just going to take that tip and turn it under like this. And that stabilizes, it's not going to roll around in the oven, but it also kind of ties everything together. In the commercial kitchens, we do what we call a truss, which is actually tying the whole thing up so it's a little bit tighter. Roasts more evenly, it keeps a nice shape that way. But that's just a little quick thing to do there. For the brine, what I've done here is taken 1.5 gallons of water. I got 1.5 pounds of salt and half that of sugar, so about 12 ounces of sugar that go into there. To that, I've added some white peppercorns, some bay leaf, rosemary. You can put garlic in here. You can put onion powder, whatever you want into this brine. As Mike and I were saying, you can control the flavor profile of the turkey that you're doing. And you don't just have to do turkey. This can, you can do this for chicken as well. So once that's heated up like this, the reason I heated it was just so we could melt out the sugar and the salt from there. What I do after that is I've got the same amount of volume in ice, and this just cools this down because you definitely don't want it to put a turkey in hot water. So that just goes in there. I'm just going to stir this up till it gets cooled down. And there's the brine. There's a little bit extra ice in there just to ensure that this is going to be good and cold. And what we do from there is we just put the turkey right inside there. You want to make sure that it stays covered in the liquid, so you may want to put a plate. Of course, we have the luxury of nice big pieces of equipment here. Conversely, what you can do here is put this in a garbage bag, one that it's not scented or anything like that, but you can pour that brine in a garbage bag and tie it off. Put that in a cooler and then cover that with ice. You don't want to allow the temperature of this meat to get above 41 degrees while it's brining. Once again, for safety reasons. I know we talk a lot about safety here, but this is a prime opportunity to make a bunch of enemies out of your relatives if you don't do things right. So just want to make sure you do that. This turkey is about 8 pounds, maybe a little bit over 8 pounds, so we'll leave this in the brine for probably 2 days. So going back to the thawing side of things, you've got to build the brine time in with that as well. So you know, if you've got that 20-pound turkey we talked about earlier, you've got 5 days of thaw time, you've got probably more like 3 or 4 days of brine time. So you're talking 9 days of time here to be thinking ahead about buying the turkey, getting it thawed, and then getting it brined as well. Once that has set for the amount of time that you want it to, and again for this one just a couple days is fine, you're going to pull that out, and what I do is I pull it out the night before and allow it to air dry, and that just sort of sets a nice little bit of a crust once the water evaporates. There's still plenty of salt in there, so that salt sort of sits on the outside as well as having gone into the meat. Boil it a little bit, and just like you would do normal turkey, the same roast times are appropriate for that.